And this week, I had a conversation with fellow actor Niki Sterner. Niki has been on a journey of reflection and seeking her courage after many hardships. From losing her father when she was young to a lack of self-belief that resulted in her missing opportunities, she's now healed, has a successful career as a comedian and actor and writer, has made a short film and is sharing her message of courage with the world. It was clear to me through this conversation that Niki is greater than she has really ever given herself credit for overcoming severe illnesses and mindset challenges, all the while finding the love of her life and rediscovering a career that she thought she'd lost. This was another vulnerable conversation that positively vibrates with Niki's strong understanding of herself and her place in the world. And if you listen closely, you might even learn a little bit about yourself as well. Let's get into it. So as always, before we take a deep dive off the high diving board into this conversation, let's take a few moments just to come into this conversation space together. Going to close your eyes and we're just going to do 3 physiological sighs. So that's 2 breaths in through the nose, held, and then just deep breath out. So we'll just do that 3 times. So breathe in twice through the nose. And again. One last time. Niki Sterner, welcome to the Not a Straight Line podcast. It's so great to see you again and to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I sent you, as I send all my guests, a question by email a couple of days before their recording session. And we start this conversation the same way every time. When you read that question, Niki, what came to mind for you?
For me, it was obvious, an obvious zag, as you put in the question. So my family moves a lot. We moved every 2 years with my husband's job in corporate America for like 10 years. And I think it was like 3 moves ago, we moved into a crawl space home in Atlanta, Georgia. And I had never lived in a crawl space home. So I had no idea what was going on. I just was like, hey, we got into the right school for the kids. This is great. It was like one of the only homes that was available in the school district.
A crawl space home. I don't even know what one of those is.
Okay, so a crawl space home is a home that's built with a space underneath that people could crawl in originally, but a lot of them are walk-in crawl spaces now. So, most homes will have like a foundation poured, like cement that it's built on, but crawl space homes basically are built on dirt. And it's just like a less expensive way to start your home. So it's not a basement because there's no concrete, but yeah, it's like a dirt floor. Some people put rocks down and plastic over them, but it invites a lot of moisture issues into a home, and the air quality is not as good for people like myself who are more sensitive to mold and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So when we moved in, I was kind of like, wow, that's like a funky smell. It just was like a earthy kind of that. I don't know if you have homes like that have like I don't want to say mildewy, but it's just a different smell. It's common here in Georgia because of the humidity.
Right.
And so we moved in not thinking anything. We were just happy to have a place, like in the right school. And slowly over the course of the next few months, my health deteriorated. It was weird because one of the first signs I should have known, but like our fish, we had betta fish, we had 3 betta fish, and they all died. Like it was the strangest thing. And they'd been alive for like a full year. We moved them from Florida to Georgia, which was like a 10-hour car drive. They were in the car, in the minivan. But yeah, so things started dying.
They were a bit like the canary in the coal mine.
Yes, exactly. Yes, they were. We went and got new ones. They died within a week. It was crazy. Yeah. So I got very sick. I was probably the worst off because I had breast implants at the time. And so I was already dealing with a compromised immune system from having toxic breast implants in my body. But it went downhill very quickly. And I got to the point where I was taking daily naps. I had brain fog. I had fibromyalgia, mysterious pains all throughout my body. My muscles were kind of wasting away. I had to wear sunglasses indoors because I became sensitive to light. So these are all weird symptoms that just showed up. But I had been watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at the time because I was a mom and I was like trying to escape, into things other than just kids and dishes and laundry. And Yolanda Hadid had breast implant illness and she shared it on the show. And so it was kind of an aha moment for me, like, oh my gosh, that might be something that I have. And so when my health deteriorated so quickly, I reached out to a plastic surgeon and realized, yes, this was definitely what it was going on, the breast implant illness. And so I got those removed, felt a lot better. And then I got sick again in the home and just went downhill fast again. And that's when I started to research, like, is it a mold thing? Like, what is going on? And that's when I found out, like, it might be air quality. And it really kind of messed up our whole system as a family because I was the one reacting, but everybody had symptoms, but I was like the main reason that we would have to move. And mold is weird because I don't know if you or any of the listeners have experienced it, but it gets into everything. Like it gets into your clothes, it gets into your mattresses. Like it's just, it contaminates is the word, everything. So we had to get rid of 90% of our things. And it almost broke our marriage. Like it was pretty bad because my husband was like, I don't want to get rid of all my stuff. And we had a lot of stuff down in the crawl space. Like I had to get rid of my wedding dress, like just things that, you should carry with you for the rest of your life. But it was a health issue. It was like, I can't have that come with us because it'll continue to make me sick. And so that was a big deal because I had to get sick to figure out how to be healthy because my mindset was twisted from, a lot of people have childhood trauma and all of that. And I had trained myself to believe that I was unworthy and that I needed these breast implants to feel like whole and like, that I provided value and that I was beautiful. I didn't have that before then. My mindset was just not right. And so this was the first time that I stood up for myself and was like, no, we're moving and we need to do it now before this gets any worse. And, with kids too, I was like, I don't want them to get sick or sicker, I should say, because their allergies were spiking up with the mold. And so that was a big deal because up until that point, I hadn't really found my voice to speak up for myself or the family or just say like, no, we're moving. I was more agreeable to whatever.
Yeah, it kind of just fit in. Yeah. And how long ago was this?
It was 9.5 years ago that we moved in. And then, so I've had my breast implants out for about 8 years, I think. And then maybe it's 8.5. And then we moved out into a different home that had a mold problem, but it wasn't a large mold problem. It was built on just like a concrete home, just a slab home. But there was a bathroom that when they hung the mirror, they tapped into the sewer pipe. And so it had been like draining or like just small leaks for like 2 years. So when we moved in, I didn't feel quite right either, but it was like God was saying, no, you need to figure out how to fix this right now so you can help others with that. And so we had to like close off part of our home and go through the process of, killing mold, removing any drywall, baseboards, anything like that, and then replacing. And it's not that hard of a process, but, it's just going through the step-by-step removal of it and cleaning it up.
That is certainly a time of high drama and peril to start the conversation, and it provides a place that I'm sure we'll come back to. But what I'd really like to do now is to go back and find out what young Niki was into and what excited her. Where did you grow up, and what's your sort of overriding memory of childhood?
I had a great childhood. I grew up in Montana in a small town where you can be great at anything. Um, I was the youngest of 4 siblings. My family was surrounded by family in the small town. Like my grandparents all lived in the same place as us. And we moved away for a couple years. And actually, when I moved back, so I was in a different town, Kalispell, a bigger place in 4th and 5th grade. And that actually set me up for success academically in my small town because they really pushed us there. And so when I came back.
And what were you into academically? What kind of lit a fire under you?
I loved flashcards and math was my thing. So like winning around the world and, stuff like that. Just I was competitive growing up. I just loved, and when we lived in Kalispell, my mom worked she worked in Shelby, which was the town that I grew up in and moved back to. So we weren't really allowed to do sports. So I was like competitive and like double dutching in the morning, the jump ropes and PE. And then the academics, it was fun because I could do flashcards on the bus on the way to school. So anything to just develop skills and that I would get recognized for was what I loved. And so it was, whether it was doing, what is it, like the death drop on the bars. I don't know if you remember that type of thing, Peter, or where you'd put your knee around a bar and then you just like twirl and twirl and twirl and twirl. Did you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that? Right.
I don't think I ever did it, but I know what you mean.
It's so silly. But it was just developing like an athletic thing. I loved being in my body. I loved being athletic and just being active. And so that has always come very naturally to me, just being physical.
And that's interesting because that seems to be at odds with what you shared earlier in terms of getting the breast implants, because obviously there was a part of you that felt that your body wasn't good enough. So where do you think that transition came from being like really content with who you were and how you were to not being so?
So I think a couple different things. So first, when I was 8, I had an older neighbor that sexually molested me. And so it was a weird, like we were playing house and I wasn't expecting anything weird and I didn't know what was going on. And afterward, I realized that that was bad and I felt like my body was dirty. And so that is where like the negative thoughts started, like you're a bad person, you're not worthy, you're dirty, your body's bad. And then when my parents split in 6th grade, I kind of developed a binge eating, bad habits for eating, just dealing with my emotions because I didn't really like how they felt. I didn't like feeling sad. I wanted to be happy all the time. And so anytime I felt sad, I just kind of tuned them out and numbed them out with food. And so I didn't ever vomit. I never had that gift. I was just, somebody who ate and then I over exercised to compensate for it. So that is where I was athletic, enough to make it so that I didn't really gain a bunch of weight. I would be up and down within a 15-pound range, depending on how I was doing. And so those two things, I think, is why.
Did you talk to anyone about it? Did you feel able to talk to anyone about what had happened or not? Did you just
No.
have to internalize it?
Yeah, I did not have the words for it. I struggled with that. In fact, I took a break in college to deal with it. And that was the first time I actually told somebody about the molestation and talked about I was kind of embarrassed by my dad growing up because he was a Harley-Davidson Vietnam veteran, F-bomb dropping type of guy. The F word was like his favorite word. And so I was my mom was like the opposite. She was like prim and proper and like, just a great mom. My dad was great too. I'm just saying, like, at the time, I was just very sensitive to that. So I kind of like shut him out a little bit. And in therapy, I felt like I was being judged on his actions. Like he liked to drink a lot and party and stuff. And so my therapist in college was like, "Well, do you judge people based on their parents?" And I was like, "No, I would never do that." He's like, "Well, why do you think that others would do that for you?" And I was like, "Oh, yes." Touche, yes. That makes sense.
And
I
why do you think, joking aside?
think I always just felt like since my parents were divorced that like my family situation was not good and I always looked up to like my best friend has parents that have been married for 50 years and I just knew what I wanted and I didn't have that and I think I was just kind of embarrassed that my dad, being a Harley Davidson mechanic, he always had greasy jeans and a black Harley shirt with like naked women on it and stuff like that. And I just felt embarrassed by that for some reason. I just felt like I saw other people that were like prominent in the community in our small town that didn't look like that. And so I felt like that might not be the way to go. I patterned my behaviors the opposite of what my dad was doing. It was kind of funny. But turns out that's not good either, because my dad had a lot of great qualities. He was very loving. At his funeral, he packed the church out, like standing room only. So that's when I woke up and was like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? Like, where did that go?
So you're really surprised by that. How long ago was that? When did you lose him?
I think it's been like 11 years.
Okay, it's quite a while. Still real, still
Yeah.
hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a lot like him. And so I think I just feel bad that I didn't get to know that or him on a different level, that I kept it very surface because I wasn't able to tap into my vulnerabilities and emotions. And so that's something that I'm working on is really being, more vulnerable and connecting with people. I think at the time I just felt like it wasn't really safe to do because of what happened when I was younger. It was like I tried to go over to my neighbor's house because I was friends with her younger sister, and I was like going there to help because her older sister was like mean to her and stuff like that. And so I just felt like, oh wow, what happened when I try? Look what happens when I try to help people. And so I think that just closed me down a little bit. It's just been a continual process of trying to like, shed the layers of the onion and open up and be real instead of like putting on a smile and people pleasing and all of that.
From my perspective, I would say you were doing far more than trying to do that. I mean, the very fact that we're having this kind of conversation in public, so to speak. I mean, I know there are just three of us at any one time in the conversation, you, me, and the listener. That your story and your vulnerability in sharing that story is going to many.
Thank you.
What would you want to say to your dad now?
Gosh, that's a great question. I guess I would say like I would love to have a conversation with him and just ask him about his past and say like, what I don't even know if you can you have that conversation, Peter? Like ask your parents like, well, what I mean, I've had it with my mom, which has been great. But like what is it that you are running from with the alcohol? And I was told that he sold drugs. I never saw it. So, it's one of those things that I don't know for sure, but may have been there as well. So what were you numbing? Like, I just would want to get to know him better and know like what he was dealing with to understand him better.
If he's been a Vietnam vet, I suspect there's something in there. Did he ever talk about that?
No. But he had his Vietnam veteran friends that he really loved and enjoyed connecting with. And he loved animals. He loved rescuing animals. So I think he just had a really good heart. And like when motorcyclists would ride through and break down, he was the first one to like go and pick them up on the side of the road and help them and fix their bike. And he was a good person. A lot of fun. He was a close talker, so he'd get like right in your space. He was he was a lot, but I love that now. Looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like everything, everything I want to be now.
Right. Well, it's good that you're recognizing it. It sounds like that he would have been a great guest for this podcast. I'm sure
Oh
he
my
had a lot of
gosh,
stories to tell.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
8-year-old Niki, competitive, athletic, maths. You're going through school. Obviously, you had that traumatic incident. Before that happened, did you have a sense of who you wanted to be and how your life wanted to turn out, or were you just going for it and just being?
I think I was just going for it at the time, but I knew that like I wanted to be a big deal. That makes sense. I wanted to have big deal energy. Like I wanted to
What did that mean to 8-year-old Niki? You wanted to be a big deal. What were you modeling yourself on anything or anyone?
Well, yeah, actually, I mean, when I was really little, I remember my mom said that she always tells this story. She's like, "You and your sister." So my sister's a year and a half older than me, and I was in like a pack and play, and my sister was there, and we were fighting, and my mom was like sewing in the other room, and she heard us like fighting back and forth, like, "No, I can't," or "No, she can't," "Yes, you can," "No, I can't," and she came in the room, and my sister was like, "Mom, Nikki wants. She says she wants to be Wonder Woman," and she was like, "Well, just let her be." So I guess I knew I wanted to help people from a very young age. I just seeing that on TV. It's a crazy story, but I think yeah, for whatever reason, I saw her on TV on Sesame Street, and that's what I wanted to be from a very young age. And I think that's a part of me that took me over to the house next door was that I wanted to help, and then it just kind of shut me down. And the fact that like you're not ready or like you actually can't do that because look what happened. So then for a very long time, I didn't help people. And I mean, I helped my kids. Obviously, when I had kids, I was very involved as a mom. And that actually helped me gain confidence in helping others. But yeah, it's like I knew that from a very young age, I guess, too.
So you wanted to be a big deal.
A big deal.
What a great ambition. I'm not joking. It is a great ambition to be, you might not know the precise nature of what being a big deal is, but I think that's something that we should all aspire to be to be a big deal, and to be a big deal for the people that we're responsible for, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, that we're here to serve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as you went through school, did you maintain that competitive edge, or what did you go on and study? What was your kind of journey through life at that stage?
Okay, so yeah, I ended up being valedictorian of our class. So that was cool. And then in college, I studied, I changed my major a bunch of times, I think, because I actually should have been studying theater or acting, but I didn't even know that was like something I could choose, to be honest with you. It was like, get a good job. And so I started out in pre med and did well my
Wow.
first semester, but I
Wow.
was also doing dance team, which makes sense because that's the entertainment side, the big deal side. And so I love dance team, and I did not have the bandwidth to do well in both. And I don't like to not do well. And so I switched into a less rigorous path of, it was called health and human performance. It was like pre-physical therapy, but I wasn't like super passionate about that. And the dance team, I was very passionate about. I ended up being a co-captain with my friend Sonia. So I ended up just switching into a business degree just to get a degree. Because again, I should have been doing theater and performing as my major, but did not even realize that was an option.
Was that something that you recognize in the younger you? Were you a performer?
Oh yeah.
Did you do dancing? Yeah.
I did some theater in sixth and seventh, maybe sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. And I was a lead Alice in Alice in Wonderland when it came through. And I loved dancing and performing. So, like, I always did halftime routines at all the big tournaments. Like, the bigger the crowd, the better. Being from a small town, it was like very exciting. The or the boys basketball tournaments drew a huge crowd. And so I remember just like we'd have the coolest outfits and accessories to go in, props. We would really put on a show with multiple songs and just different cuts of the music back when you had tape players. It was very exciting. And that was probably like my best memories from high school was, well, basketball. We went to state my junior and senior year. Some of my best friends still were on the basketball team. And then the dancing at the tournaments. So yeah, then it was like, do I do basketball or do I do dance team in college? And I wanted to go to a bigger school. And so I chose dance team. I was entertaining every weekend and during the week sometimes too at basketball and football games. And that was the biggest crowd.
Is that when you say dance team? Is that like that Netflix series?
What's that?
Have you seen that? Where they it's not cheerleading, but they kind of like just do crazy things like throwing people up in the air and twirling round. And is that what you mean by dance team? I wish I could remember the name of the series now.
We didn't throw people up and down, but the cheerleaders and like tumbling and stuff like that, they did. We did more like just shaking our hips and doing cool dance routines to different music and halftime performances and quarter breaks. We did cheer as well on the sidelines, but it was more dancing.
Because that's not dance team. I don't think is a thing here in the UK. I mean, it might be, but I just it's passed me by if it is a thing. Yeah.
Wow. No way. I didn't know that. That's crazy. It's huge here.
It's funny, isn't it? We kind of just assume that what we know and what we experience is universal, but
Right.
it's not.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
So you chopped and changed, zigs and zagged, even while you were at college, ended up on a business degree.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything in that floated your boat?
So since I switched my major like 3 times, it took me 4.5 years to graduate. And the summer before my fall semester where I graduated, I ended up doing a pageant. It was the Miss USA Montana pageant. And I met a talent agent from LA. And I ended up corresponding with him and signing with him. So after I graduated, that was the first place I went, was I drove out to LA to do like a 30-day boot camp with him to work on my acting. And I had a great time. I was learning a lot. He was putting together like a reel for me of all these different places he took me. He had me on the microphone at the Rose Bowl parade, interviewing football players, just doing all sorts of stuff, dancing at an Eminem sponsored event. He took advantage of my dancing, like my commercial type look, and then the interviewing. And I got scared though, like 3 days before it was over, because I just felt like, oh my gosh, I don't have any training for this. I've never taken an acting class. What am I doing here? And I ran away. I left like 3 days and I never saw the footage. I blamed it on like missing my family, missing my boyfriend, but I didn't go home to my boyfriend. So that clearly wasn't it. I was just scared. I was scared of being seen. So that was something that I regretted for a very long time.
How old would you have been then?
I was 22.
Me too.
Yeah. And I know, like, now it's like, duh, like, just stay and take classes, get a job. Like, it's pretty simple. But like back then, I was so freaked out in my mind. Like, people are going to know. Like, I felt like this huge imposter syndrome. I am not, I should not be here. I don't belong here. And so I left, and that's a terrible feeling.
Did you just run away, or did you talk to the talent scout and discuss it?
I talked to him. Yeah. I was actually staying with him. He had this like part of his house that was made for developing talent. And so I stayed there, which was great. And he was so helpful. He was like a 60-year-old man who had been in the business for a while and just was super kind and just knew how to develop talent. Yeah. I talked to him about it and he was like, well, okay, if that's, your decision. He was willing to help me get a job. He's like, do you want a nanny? Do you want to work at a restaurant? What do you want to do? And I didn't have experience in either of those. So I just felt like, again, like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing that. So the negative thoughts in my mind is what took over.
You seen the film Sliding Doors?
No.
Oh, I think it's Gwyneth Paltrow. It's literally one part of the film, she manages to catch a subway train, but another part of the film, she doesn't manage to catch it because the doors have slid shut. And it's like what her life is like if in one scenario or the other. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, isn't that what we all do? Like, if
Yeah.
only.
I mean, and that what you just described there, it seems to be a real sliding doors moment. That if you had stayed, you would be living very different life.
Very different life.
And it really speaks to the heart, I think, of what this podcast is all about. That you took a zig over to LA and you took a zag back. How do you feel now about that decision to leave LA?
I guess I feel sad about it that I didn't have the confidence or feel like I was enough to stay there. Yeah. It makes me sad that but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it was meant to be. Obviously, I needed to learn from it, but what a missed opportunity. I mean, it was like a golden moment. And I just did not have the confidence to step into it, but I had everything I needed. Everything. I had my youth, I had support from him, I had a mentor, I had someone who believed in me more than I believed in myself. Like, if I could have gotten my mind right, whew, totally different.
I was just going to say, so what was missing? And I think you just touched on it there.
Oh, yeah. My mindset was so off, just negative thoughts. I was battling depression when I was there. So I took a break in college after a couple of years because I was so confused on what I was doing. It was when I was in like the pre-physical therapy, but I was working a job at the Alumni Association on campus. I was in a sorority. I was doing dance team and I was doing this pre-physical therapy stuff. And for me, that was just too much. And I think the real reason why it was too much is because it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I knew that deep down, but I wasn't willing to own it yet. And so I took a break and I went on antidepressants for 2 years. And I don't really remember much of that time. And my grades tanked. Like, I mean, I say tanked, but like I got my first D in a class. It was a tough accounting class. But for someone like me who was a valedictorian, like my brain was not right on those antidepressants. And trust me, like I know they work for a lot of people, but for me, I'm super sensitive to any side effects. And it was not a good thing. Like I don't remember that time very well. But when I finished college, I went off of them pretty quickly. And that was when I was in LA. And so my brain chemistry was kind of like transitioning from a steady dose of whatever antidepressant I was on to nothing. And I think that was part of the reason why I left, because if I had stayed on them through that, I probably would have been fine. But I just was like, I don't have the money for these anymore, and I don't want to be on them because I want to feel my emotions instead of numbing, which is what it did for me. That was tough. But I mean, I don't regret doing that because now I know more about myself and that I can't do that. And that I was just masking a problem, which was just learning how to feel and be vulnerable.
And had you started therapy at this stage, or did that come later?
I did therapy when I took the break with a therapist in college, just for like 6 weeks, I think. It was very helpful. Very helpful.
And was that the point where you said that was the first time that you talked about what had happened to you?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So that was very helpful. I've done therapy a few times in my life, and it's always been great. Just talking to someone and, getting it out. Now I journal a lot because that is, a similar method of just getting it out of my head and onto paper so I can understand what's going on actually. But yeah, therapy was very helpful for me. I did you just understand yourself when you get it down on paper or talk to somebody. It's like it's real, versus just in your head. Like you can get so stuck in your head, just the mind just tends to like say the same thing over and over and over and over again. And if it's not the right thing,
That's just you and me, Nikki, that have that.
yeah, it's
Everyone
just
else,
us, right?
everyone else is fine.
Yeah, they've got it figured out. We don't.
Well, we joke, but isn't that often the case? We think that it is just us and that everyone else has it figured out, but that's
Hmm.
not true, is it?
No, yeah, it looks like everybody has it figured out, but you're right. Until you get that mindset right and resetting every day, which has been super helpful for me. Up until that point, I was up or down every day. Like something would happen, I'd be like thrown off totally, or like a victim of my life versus like being in control of it, or not in control, but just in the flow of it. You know what I mean?
So when you say mindset and resetting, what do you mean by that, and what do you do specifically?
So I do a few things. So in the morning, I journal for 10 minutes every morning. Sometimes it's writing comedy. Sometimes it's just getting what I need to have done in the day out on paper so I can organize my thoughts about it. Other times it's, you know, whatever I woke up with in my mind that I need to get out. So that helps me with clarity. And then when I get in the shower, I listen to a guided audio meditation that is called I Am Worthy. And it just sets me up for success because it just tells me, I'm worthy of everything that I was born with, that I know I'm meant to be doing, that it just helps me to know that I can do it and I'm worthy, just like everyone is worthy. All of your listeners, you're worthy of your calling. Everyone is worthy. You just have to step into it and know that it's true. And so it's just that reprogramming of the brain and doing it daily, like, training like an Olympic athlete. I trained my body for so long, like as an athlete, but I never trained my mind. I trained it academically, but not mindset. It's so different. It's so different. And so I do that in the morning and then I do it at night also. There's an audio called Creating Success While You Sleep, because that's a really critical time too, right before you go to bed, to set up your thoughts as your body repairs and your mind goes through a lot. So those two things. And then I do affirmations. Like I have sticky notes like everywhere that just remind me of things that I want to say. There's another cool thing too, that Michael Phelps used to do, where every time he walks through a door, he says a positive affirmation. Like if he's in a negative space or whatever, every time he walks through a door, he'll say a positive thing, and then it just gets him right back on track. So I have this thing where I say, "I'm so lucky. Everything I want comes to me with ease, and miracles happen to me every day." And when I start to say it like over and over again, I really feel it. And it gets me in that place of like hope and possibility. And that what I put out is what I'm getting back in. And that's really a powerful thing to do. So if you feel like you're slipping or something happened, just getting back in it by saying that.
On one hand, it could sound a bit kind of hokey is not the right word, but a bit
Mm-hmm.
kind of,
Woo woo.
yeah, woo woo. But the way I look at it, Nikki, is that I've had my next birthday anniversary. I would have been around the sun 56 times, and
Woo.
I think to myself, woohoo, yeah, go me, eh?
Woo, yeah. Go you.
I don't think you get prizes for that. They should do though. Well, I guess your presents are your prizes, aren't they, for
Yeah.
completing another orbit? But the way I look at it is that I had decades and decades and decades of saying negative things to myself and experiencing negative emotions, and not deliberately. I think it's just part of the human condition that until you know otherwise, that's what happens because of stuff that you hear as a child and whatever. So the way I look at it is that, well, I'm just doing now in the second half of my life. I'm doing the opposite of what happened in the first half. So whereas every day I was, saying negative things and felt myself to be a failure at stuff that I attempted and didn't do very well at, I'm now countering that with positivity. And that I absolutely concur with you about the benefit of that daily reset at the beginning of the day.
What are you doing, Peter?
I do a breathwork and hypnosis session. Half an hour of breathwork, deep breathing and hypnosis. It's guided. And then after that, I journal because in that session, stuff comes up from the subconscious, from the intuition. So I get that out. And then I do 10, 15 minutes meditation.
Nice.
And that's like kind of sets me up. Well, I say that, but interestingly, yesterday I did that. And then I had a conversation with someone and they said something and it kind of knocked me off, like almost for half a day. And it wasn't until I got outside and went for a walk that I kind of got it back. And it just reminded me.
What do you mean knocked you off?
Just
what sort of
the negative. I don't know if I say negative thoughts. Just I kind of started to doubting myself a little bit, I guess, and because what I shared with this person I thought was really good, and their interpretation of it wasn't the same as what it was in my mind, and I really trust their opinion. So it was just like I just felt like at odds with it. We've talked about it since. So yeah, and it was just a reminder to me that it's not a one and done thing. You got to do it. You got to get at it daily. Yeah, if not more. Anyway, this podcast is not about me. Why are you asking me questions anyway? That's not allowed.
Because I'm curious.
Yeah, and there you are.
It's like brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah,
morning and night.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting because I don't have an evening routine, and so that's something that I've got from this conversation. The importance of doing that. Those two things that you shared, are they things that you've paid for, or are you able to share those with the listener?
They are things that I've paid for.
Okay.
But I actually am going to create some meditation, guided audio meditations. So be looking for those soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, because that's something that has definitely just affected my life in such a way that I definitely want to share that with others. And I would love to tailor them to my specific clients, like what they're dealing with, because I feel like the stuff that I'm listening to is for performers, and it's so much more profound when it is something that you are experiencing, when it's specific to what you're experiencing, I should say, versus like just general meditation or general I'm worthy. Like when you're talking about I'm worthy of sharing my voice and being on stage and what I have to say matters and sharing your most vulnerable self in an authentic way. Like that's not necessarily like a business type thing. It's more of a performer needs to know that it's okay to share it all, So I think just tailoring it to each person is or type of person is key, or has been for me. Yeah.
So you ran away from LA. You didn't go back to your boyfriend.
Nope. I did. I ran. Oh my gosh. It was like in a movie. I was on the train. I decided to move to Minneapolis to be with my best friend instead because I was so embarrassed I couldn't go back to Missoula, which is where I graduated from college, because I had told everybody like, I'm going to LA. Look at me. And then when I left, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't go back and like face everybody. So I had like a 30-second meet up with my boyfriend at the train station. It was like a very small town, and like I went out and gave him a hug and a kiss, and then it was like goodbye. And then I went to Minneapolis for 6 months, and it was terrible. I mean, it was great with my best friend, like having her support, but Minneapolis, not for me. It was like colder than Montana, which is where I'm from. And it was like more humid in the summers. There was mosquitoes, worse than Montana. I was like, get me out of here. I could not leave fast enough. So then I moved to Vegas to be with my brother and his girlfriend, which was cool. And I got a job working at a hotel.
Wow, you're really going from one end of the country to the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a job. First, I was working at Yellow Page Sales inside on a telephone, and it was terrible. And my boss was like, do you think this, like, are you happy? And I was like, no. I started crying in his office. You could tell. But I went and auditioned for a job at a casino, the Rio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, as a bevertainer, which was, they have 12 like 12 stages throughout the casino floor that we got to perform on. And so once every hour, you'd get up on the stage for like a 1-minute routine, and you would just dance to your audience, and then you'd serve them drinks the rest of the hour. So you'd get up 8 times in a shift. And I started out working at the graveyard shift, and that was tough. I was not made for the graveyard shift. That was tough. And then I moved up to the swing shift, and that's when I noticed that all of the pretty girls with the big breasts, big fake breasts, got big tips. So that's honestly why I got breast implants, because I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm missing that. Once I get that, then I'll be making great money. But unfortunately, like once I got them, like I did make good money, but I only worked there for a month afterward because I was just not well from having them in my body. And they were so big, like the doctor went too big. And so it was very uncomfortable. It was crazy. I actually switched them out for smaller ones within 6 months, which was like the soonest I could get in to get smaller ones. But because so funny. I was like, I had spent so much money on the surgery that I was like, oh, I'm not just getting them out. Like that would be a waste of money. I need to get another pair in, which, if only I had not, put another set back in, I would have had my life, like my health. But, it is what it is.
So breast implant illness is obviously a thing, not something that I've ever heard of.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah. It's very common. A lot of people have them and just kind of brush it off like, oh, I would have developed this anyway. But like thyroid problems, hysterectomies, hormone problems of all sorts from having them in your body, autoimmune disease, like heavy metal toxicity. There's so many things that happen when you have them in your body.
Bit of a clue, really, that they shouldn't be in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, they got taken off the market for a while. At least the silicone ones did, and then they got brought back. Silicone are even worse for you. Silicone filled implants, they all have like silicone in the outer shell, so they're all not good for you. But the silicone filled ones tend to have more autoimmune disease just because they have more toxicity, the heavy metals. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. I mean, we do what we do because we feel like we need that to be whole.
You said you stayed working at that hotel for another month. Did you stay in Vegas or did you move somewhere else after that?
Then I moved back to California. I wanted to get back into acting, and I felt like if I was closer to LA, then I would maybe do it. So I got a job working as a MAC makeup artist because when I was working at the casino, I got really good at doing my makeup for performing every night. And so I was like, oh yeah, I can do that because I needed a job. It was hard because I had the first set of implants when I moved there, which were very uncomfortable. I just was not doing well with them. And then when I got my second set, I actually met my husband when I was recovering. So I moved back to Vegas to be with him. I don't know if it was 4 months later, something like that. We got married within 9 months of knowing each other, and then had a baby, and then had another baby and another baby.
How did you meet?
Driving down the road, baby. This is before like the dating apps. I was just driving down the road. He was driving down the road. We were going, the same 3 stoplights, looked over, like winked at each other, and then ended up turning into the same place. I was going to get ice cream because I was going to go home and watch American Idol. And he just finished working out at the gym, and he was going to get his dry cleaning and get some food from Panda Express. And after flirting on the road, he followed me into the ice cream shop and like bought my ice cream. And so it's a random, rare, weird story. We're both kind of that personality, though, that's like, hey, how you doing?
And what did you see in him that made you think, yeah, this is the man I want to marry?
Oh my gosh, he is like a ball of energy. And at the time I was struggling, but he was just so much fun. He was so generous, so kind, so full of integrity, and just so much fun. Like he's nonstop, like to the point where it's annoying. He's nonstop. Like he will work his butt off around you to where you're like, will you just sit down for like a second? Like, will you just stop? Like, stop cleaning. Stop doing that. Stop washing the cars. Just sit down. But he's a very generous leader, coach. He's very good at what he does. He's just very supportive. And so I felt very safe with him, and I still do. And it'll be 20 years in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's not easy. You can't take it for granted, ever.
Yeah.
Particularly in this day and age.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah, but you're doing it again though. You're asking me questions. You if you want to ask me questions, you got to host your own podcast and invite me on as a guest.
I'm going to have you on.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I am married to an amazing woman called Andrea, and we have 4 kids between us.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah. She had 2, I had 1, and then we had 1 together.
Oh, that's sweet. How long have you guys been together?
Yeah, don't stop with the questions, eh? So 20 years this year.
Yay! Look at us. We're doing it.
Not married. We've been married for 14 years. Sorry, Andrea, for not remembering. Well, we're married in 2011. So
okay.
Yeah, that's right. So married 13 years this year, and we were together 7 before we got married. So yeah, 20 years we've been together. Can't believe it. It's just like, what?
Wow. That's wild.
In fact, Andrew and I were talking about, so our youngest just turned 17 a couple of weeks ago. And we were just talking over coffee, like, joking apart, where has that time gone? I mean, we have done so much in that time. We built an extension, we've holidayed in Australia, and kids have grown up and left home, and just so much has happened, and yet it's just gone literally like so quick. What has the last 20 years been like for you? Does it seem like it's gone quickly, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, when the kids were young, it went very slow. I was not I was happy to be with them, but it was so hard. It was just so monotonous, and so I was not pursuing my passions, and so it was very, very difficult. I did not enjoy doing dishes and laundry and baths every day. That was not my thing, but did it because I didn't trust that anybody else could do it. Now I know better, but I felt like I had to do everything, and ridiculous. But yeah, the days were long, the years were long back then. I just was hoping and praying, for the time that they would all be in school so I could have some time to myself to think again. And that's when I started pursuing acting, as soon as all 3 of them were in school. And that was like 10 and a half years ago now. So,
and what does pursuing acting mean in that context?
For me, it was taking classes. I had to start, because that was what was missing in LA, was that I didn't have the knowledge and the classes and the training. So I was like, I'm taking classes. So I got in class 2-3 days a week with a very strict woman named Jane Kelly from London, who grew up in the theater, and she was very, very intense. Like you couldn't chew gum in her class. You couldn't talk, unless you were spoken to. Like she was very intense. So yeah, it was good training though. 9 months of that.
Why did you choose her?
She was the best. I lived in South Florida, and she was just, she was it down there. Like she was really good. People, she had an ongoing workshop. She had an 8-week starter class. And then you were invited into the ongoing workshop with her, where you had scene partners, and you got to go up, not every week, but you had to rehearse with your partners. And it was just very, very good training. And then she would have workshops for like improv or figuring out your type, just specifics to acting. And then after 9 months of that, we moved back up to Atlanta, which is where we're at now. And I took classes here through different...
But not in a crawl space.
That was. Yes. When we moved back up.
That was okay, right. I'm getting the time context now, right. Okay.
I was in Atlanta first in a different home. We were in Atlanta, and then we moved to Florida with my husband's job, and we were fine in both of those homes. And then we moved back up after I had started studying acting. And I was like ready to, hit it. I was like, I'm going to face Atlanta this time. And because the first time I struggled with depression here in Atlanta, I think because I wasn't pursuing acting, and that like really brought me down. But then I held a psychic party because I was so confused on what to do. And the psychic was like, could have been an actress, very expressive. And I was like, oh no, like, oh, what are you saying? I have to do that? So that was my big aha moment, was when the psychic said, could have been an actress, very expressive. And I was like, you're right. Dang it. I know. I ran from that. And then I had kids and a family. And then here I am, hit with this depression again, just like in college, hit with the depression because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Then with kids, like hit with the depression because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. It's like, how many times are you going to hit me with this, universe? Like, okay, I'll pick it. So that's when I realized, okay, I have to start studying acting. But I had to put it off for about a year. So I just read, biographies of people that were famous actresses and tried to learn like, oh, these are like normal people like us. that just developed a skill. Then when I got the chance, when the kids were all in school, is when I hopped in class. And then we moved back up to Atlanta, and that's when I was hit with the illness, the breast implant illness, and then the mold exposure. One of the air ducts was unattached down in the crawl space, so it was even worse because that crawl space air was just getting right up in there. So it was a pretty bad exposure. So I think I had to get sick to get healthy, because now health is like a huge deal to me. I work very hard. I take a lot of supplements. I eat right. I exercise. I've been trying to build a big butt, Peter, because that's, a big, strong butt now. That's my thing, like strong legs and thighs and butt.
So when you're younger, you wanted to be a big deal. Now you just want a big butt.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah. That big butt energy.
Big butt energy. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So how long did it take you to, so we're kind of back to where we started, really, a conversation when you were saying that you found your voice and you said, we're leaving, we're going. That was the point where you started to become well. What was that journey like? What was that particular part of your story? What happened there?
So the journey to wellness was really tuning into my body and understanding what was going on, because I had a lot of sensitivities at the time from the exposure. It takes a while to kind of detox, plus detoxing out the chemicals from the breast implants. So I had to listen to myself, like if I was taking a supplement and it wasn't working because I was highly sensitive to so many things, then I had to back off and start slow, which for me was hard because I'm kind of an all-in person and I like to just go and hit it. So I had to take things slower. And I love being athletic. And when I was not able to be athletic, it forced me to go inward and, figure out what makes me happy, what I need to do. Because you can busy yourself all day long with working out, taking care of others, doing everything but the thing you're supposed to do. And that's what I was really good at, was doing for others and not doing what I was supposed to do. I did that for a very long time. So getting healthy forced me to focus on myself and to listen to my body. And that was new, because I guess, when you're strong and athletic and like that, you just kind of abuse it, or you take it for granted, your health, until you don't have it. And yeah, I feel like it just kind of opened me up to myself. Whereas before, I put up walls and didn't want to really feel what was going on. But when you're sick, you have to.
Do you think the trauma that you experienced as a child, do you think that had any part to play in the kind of physical manifestation of symptoms that you had?
Yeah, definitely. I had to realize that my body was not bad and that it was able to heal itself if I treated it well, if I fed it the right things, if I rested when I was tired, if I took care of it instead of abusing it or self-sabotaging myself, then I could be healthy. And that was a big aha for me when I got sick, was that I always turned to other people to fix things for me. I didn't think I had solutions. I didn't feel like I had the answers. So when you're sick and nothing works, like the doctors can't fix it, no book fixes it, like you have to really just take it on yourself and trust your intuition and your gut. And it looks weird to other people. Like they don't understand the choices that you're making, and it's frustrating for other people. But it is probably the only way to heal when you're one of those people that's not fixable. You're unfixable. You're broken. I felt like, yeah, like I was broken. And there were times when I just kind of was like, why am I here? Like I have messed up this life so hard. Like I have made the wrong choice over and over and over again, from, leaving LA to getting breast implants, to moving into the crawl space home, to just poor decisions, just self-sabotaging because I didn't feel like I was worthy of a good life. And even when it was here, with my family, like just doing stupid stuff.
So when you say that, does that mean that you had suicidal thoughts?
Um, yeah. So like when we first moved to Atlanta, I was super depressed, and I was kind of like, it just hit me. Like, I had the college time, and then I had the first Atlanta time where I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not fun. It was the strangest heaviness that I've ever felt. That's the heaviest time in my life. And I just didn't really want to be here. Like, my family was scared. They sent, like, my best friend came to visit, another best friend came to visit, my mom's sister came to visit. Like, everybody was worried about me. And it was strange though. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. And that's when I had the psychic party. Like, what do I do? Is it my marriage? I thought it was my marriage. It was just me, just not doing what I'm meant to do. Like, I think when you have a calling on your life, you can't ignore it. You get tired from running from it. And I think I was tired.
You've used one word a couple of times, quite well, more than a couple of times, and you kind of you didn't use the same word there, but you used the word supposed to, doing what you're supposed to do. You said they're doing what you're meant to do. How do you know? Like the listener listening to this, me listening to this.
Yeah.
How do you know what you're meant to do, what you're supposed to do? And what if you don't? I don't want to give the listener any more like stuff to cope with if they don't know. What do you mean by that?
If you don't know, so I have a 3-step process that I did over the course of the last couple years, and I've put into like the confidence shortcut is what I call it. But the first step is looking at your 20-year goals. And in order to know where you want to go, you have to know like where you've been. So you have to look back at, I call them the 3 lists. So you look at your success list, which is what did you do very well and what have you been recognized for? And you want to write all those things down. These are all clues. And then the second one is the star list. So like, who did you look up to? Who were the stars that you were like, oh, that is what I want to do. I love that person so much. That definitely, when you see something and you recognize it in yourself, like I could do that.
Like Wonder Woman.
Exactly. And then the third one, which is the most important list, is the scared list. And that's the list that you look back on and say, what was I afraid to do? What did I run away from? What did I say no to because I was scared? And that list is like the most important list because that's probably where the gold is. That's where the magic happens, is in doing the things that you were afraid to do. And speaking for me is what I was afraid to do. I mean, I did pageants. I fumbled so hardcore on the questions. I mean, I remember like being in high school, I did the junior miss pageant and I did not have like a good answer. They asked me like if I had what are those things that you bury, like a time
capsule?
Yeah, thank you. Time capsule. What would you put in it? What would you put in it to represent you? And I was like, I would put a necklace with a heart on it in there because I want to be remembered for love or something like that. Didn't even make sense. But like, I was so trapped in my mind, like I could not speak because I just had so many thoughts going on at one time that I felt like unclear. And I didn't journal back then. I tell my daughter to journal now because she's like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm like, you should start journaling. She's like, yeah, right, Mom. I had that kind of attitude, like, yeah, right. I'm not going to do that. But I could not speak clearly. Like I gave a speech when I was valedictorian and I don't think it was that great. But honestly, I don't think that it's something that is just like natural. I think it's something that you just develop over and over again. So now I do stand-up comedy, which is the easiest and quickest way to get on a microphone. And you're telling your stories and your jokes and you bomb a lot. Like you get up on stage and it's pretty bad a lot of the time.
And did you do that deliberately to counter what you're scared of?
Yes. So when I figured out my 20-year plan, I knew that I wanted to be creating a TV show is like my end goal. And so I looked at people that are on TV shows and I asked them like what they did. And one of the women, Amora Owens, is a talented actress that I had a career consultation with. And I asked her what she was doing. And she said she did a stand-up comedy class. And then there was another woman who was also doing the same thing, talented on TV. She had done stand-up comedy. So I was like, I guess I'll try that.
Follow the clues.
Exactly. Yes. Model, who you want to be like and what they did. So I was like, okay, I'm signing up for stand-up comedy. No experience at all. I have never been the person that people said, you're really funny. You should go do stand-up comedy. And they're like, you? What? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm funny. But it really, like, you have to write and you have to get up on stage and perform. And it forces you to own your voice. And it forces you to get on stage and build in repetitions. Like and it's the easiest way, like I said, to get on stage and get up there. Cause you can go to like 2-3 open mics in a night And you could do that every night of the week.
I always remember when I left drama school, Niki, thinking it doesn't really matter whether you want to be an actor or not. Everyone should experience drama school for what it gives you in terms of emotional intelligence skills, self-awareness, trust, communication, movement, all the things that go into the skill and the craft of acting is actually the skill and the craft of being a good human. Because as an actor, we are just being other humans. So you've almost got to learn what you take for granted in being human, if that makes sense. But hearing what you say there, like, well, much quicker and easier ways, just do stand-up comedy.
It's, you know what? And comedians are some of the nicest people I've ever met, to be honest. It's such a warm, welcoming community of artists here in Atlanta. I was just at an open mic last night and full of comedians, and they are just some of the kindest souls, and they're just up there sharing their truths in funny ways. And it's so good to laugh. Like, for so long, I was just so focused on the kids, which I love. This sounds like I'm a horrible mom and don't care about my kids, but like, honestly, they are what kept me alive for forever. So, and they're so smart and incredible, and my husband's awesome. So just shout out to my family because they kept me alive, and they inspire me every day. But I'm just saying, like even with all of that wonderful support from my family, if you're not doing what you're meant to do, that's where your happiness and your joy is. Like, you can be happy with them, but you will never truly feel that fullness of your life until you're doing what you're meant to do. And when you're putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, like by getting on stage or whatever it is for you, if it's writing and putting your work out there, it's so scary. It's so vulnerable to share on stage or wherever. But afterward, it's incredible. It's the best feeling you'll ever feel in your life. I'm sure you've probably experienced it, Peter, too. I, for so long, was too scared to do it. And so I didn't know what was missing. I was like, why am I unhappy? Why am I like, I have everything. I should be happy from the, on paper, from the outside looking in. I should be happy. Like, my husband was so frustrated. Like, I don't know how to make you happy. And it's like, I don't know how to either. But I had to do it myself. Like, I had to choose to be uncomfortable. And that's where the happiness lies, and the confidence.
Absolutely. I lost track of how much gold there is in this conversation like half an hour ago. It's just incredible. And I actually had tingles down my spine when you were talking about the 3 lists. Because when I asked the question about, what does that mean in terms of should, I didn't know that you had something concrete that you could give the listener. That's just incredible. And is that something that you came up with yourself? Was that something that you found out about?
No, that's something that I came up with myself just through the process of trying to figure it out. Like, what I really dug deep for like probably 6 months, like trying to figure out what it is. Actually, the past 2 years, because honestly, the courage stuff, the courage quest, I call it, that's the third part of it. After the clarity, the 20-year goal, and then like reverse engineering, how do I get to that is the first step. And then the second step is the mindset. So figuring out what's holding me back, where are my limiting beliefs, and then how can I flip those and create new truths that are going to match my bigger life goals, my bigger dreams. And then the third part, because like for so long I had a great mindset, but I wasn't doing anything. And then I had this interview with a TV show because I was getting in the habit of saying yes to things, saying yes to myself. And so I had said yes to hosting trivia at Mellow Mushroom, which was getting on a microphone. And I was like, I'm not going to worry myself about like, am I good enough to do this? I've never done it before, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to show up for yourself. So I did that. And then I saw a post in a Facebook group about, hey, they're looking for people to interview for a TV show. And so I said yes, and got on an interview with a casting director in LA. And I thought I was going to get it. It was kind of like a Survivor type show. And my mom and uncle were going to do it with me. They were fantastic. They were perfect for the show too. I probably wasn't a great fit because I'm not super outdoorsy, although now I'm getting more outdoorsy. But at the time, my mindset was so good that I was like, there's no way they're going to say no to me. I'm so ready for this.
I'm a big deal.
Yeah, I'm a big deal. I got big deal energy. Exactly. And then I got big butt energy, okay? But I started training myself for the show. And that's where my courage quest began, because I was like, oh, if I'm going to be on this show, I better start doing...
The courage quest. You say courage quest?
Yeah, courage quest is what I called it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I started, that's when I created my scared list. When I was like, what am I afraid to do? Because there was a lot of things that I'd said no to. I was like afraid of everything. Holding snakes, I'd never done. Riding a horse. Like I I was floating the river where I grew up in a small town, and there was a black snake next to me, and it freaked me out. And so ever since then, I'd always been afraid of snakes. And then I rode a horse when I was in middle school and not well, and I was afraid of horses. Used to ride motorcycles when I was younger, like kindergarten. I hadn't done it since high school. I think I got my motorcycle permit, but I hadn't really, or license, and I hadn't rode in a long time. And I, afraid to like snorkel and just do cool things and like own your power, say yes. So I scheduled those things in the calendar. I did a horse riding lesson with my daughter, Breezy. I got my motorcycle license again, went snorkeling twice in the past year, once with my sister and her family in Hawaii, and then once in Florida with my family, which is kind of like there's fish, there's jellyfish, there's weird things in the water that I before was like, no, I'm not doing that. But it's really cool when you experience it. And then went whitewater rafting in Montana, tent camping in Montana. So I just had a list and I was checking them off. And every time I did it, I had to like tell myself, like in my mind, like, you can do this. Like when we did the whitewater rafting, we had an option to jump into the 50-degree water because it's like from the glaciers. It was in Glacier National Park in Montana, and the water is very, very cold. And so I have this thing called 3 seconds to yes. And it's like, if you can beat your mind by saying yes right away instead of like thinking about it and overthinking, then you can do a lot more. And so for me, it's like, if I get that feeling, like that uncomfortable feeling, now I know like, oh, that's a yes. I need to push through that so that I can experience something versus before I'd be like, ooh, no, not for me. That's not for me. So I call that 3 seconds to yes. So beat your mind to it, just say yes and jump. So I jumped in the water. It was freaking cold, but it was so like exhilarating.
Just to be clear, that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not much above 0 degrees Celsius. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like, that's really freaking cold.
Very freaking cold. Yes. So cool. I would never do that before. So that was a huge deal. So I think just saying yes right away to that feeling. And like even with stand-up comedy, I get that every time I go up on stage, and I have a mindset routine that I say every time. And it actually falls back to when I did basketball in high school. I had a free throw mindset routine every time I did free throws, and I end up having the state record. And it still stands like however many years later. I don't know how many years it is. It was a while ago, 25, yeah. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it was a minute.
It was a minute ago, yeah. But I say the same thing, and I start my mindset routine for my stage work the same way I did my free throws, which makes absolutely no sense. It's just the first blizzard is December 1st, and it was something that my coach said he trained me to do because his son was like a super talented basketball player, and he trained me on the mindset thing for free throws. So I said, the first blizzard is December 1st, and then I'd get the basketball and I'd say bounce, bounce, and then I'd flip the ball to where I had the little hole, and then I'd say bend, swish. And so I would like program my mind that I was going to swish it each time. And so that worked for me, and I had like 35 free throws in a row during games, which is like higher pressure situations. So that was really cool. And then I thought, because when I started doing the comedy, I was like starting to get down on myself because I was like, why am I not feeling good on stage? Why am I being affected by everything around me? Whereas controlling what I put out on stage. And so I was like, oh, shoot, duh. I just need to have like a mindset thing before I go up. So when I go up on stage now, I say, the first blizzard is December 1st. I am full of joy. And I do this with my hands too. I am full of joy. I am magnetic. The audience loves me and they laugh at all my jokes. And I tell myself that right before I go on stage. And it just gets me high to get on stage and to feel magnetized with the crowd and like really interact with them, which is the goal, versus just getting up there and performing. I want it to be an experience.
What is it you say at the beginning? I've not quite heard it. Something about December the 1st.
So the first blizzard is December 1st. And I lived in Montana at the time. So it was just like a one-off sentence that my coach said. And I was like, yeah, that works. And so that's my thing. Yeah, random. But then it's like you clear your mind. You clear it. So that's my clear. Like the first blizzard is December 1st. It means nothing to me. But it takes me away from any thought or fear that I'm in. And it just stops that. And then I feel joy. I feel like I'm a magnet. And so then I get into the feeling that I want. And then I say what I want is, the crowd loves me and they laugh at all my jokes. So I'm just projecting and putting out what I want every time before I go on stage. That seems to work. So it clears it and then it programs it.
More gold there, Niki.
Oh.
I'm going to have to buy this episode off you. I think you've given so much value. Incredible.
You're amazing.
Just that in there about, focus on what you want, not what you don't want, because at the end of the day, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between the two. So
right.
just spend more time thinking about what you want. And if you don't know what you want, just think about it, and you can do the 3 list exercise that you've done. So where is Niki now? What are you up to? What are you doing? What's exciting? Apart from stand-up comedy, we know that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And how can the listener get in touch with you if they want to? Why might they want to? You know what I mean? Just all the things. Just kind of give us a snapshot of where you're at now.
Okay, fantastic. So this weekend is the premiere of my first short film called Sweet Body. It's at the Atlanta Comedy Film Festival.
Congratulations! I didn't know that.
Thank you so much. I know it's a huge deal for me. My best friend's flying in town for it, and this was the first time I really asked people to support me. Was when I created a short film, and I did a crowdfund campaign. We raised $8,000. That really, like, me reaching out and asking people to support me was a huge, like, vulnerable moment. And it also was a huge moment full of love and support, because I felt like, oh my gosh, look at who showed up for me. This is the most incredible feeling. And I felt like my dreams came true the day that I filmed on set. It was just a magical thing that happened. And right now, I'm in the process of writing a book called The Confidence Shortcut. And it just is the simple 3-step process that we kind of talked about on the show today, which is the clarity, and then the mindset, which I call the creative genius mindset, which matches your creative dreams, and then the courage at the end. And those 3 things together give you confidence, because confidence, I've found, is only built through action and knowing where you want to go, and then training your brain to get there. So that is something that you can watch for. And I'm also going to be putting out a podcast talking about that and interviewing people similar to what you're doing, Peter, which you're a fantastic interviewer, by the way. Thank you so much for having me on here. This has been wonderful. I love you so much.
I'm an excellent conversationalist. I don't interview people. I just have conversations.
You are fantastic. So that's really exciting. I'm actually attending a conference next week in California. It's called Speak and Write, and to make millions. And so I'm really pushing now to get that out in the world, the Confidence Shortcut, and a program to go along with it, to work one-on-one with clients and really help them clarify where they want to go and get there. So where people can find me on Instagram, it's Niki Sterner, Nikisterner. I'm in a pink dress. You can't miss it. And then also on Facebook, same thing, Niki Sterner. On YouTube, Niki Sterner. I think that's where they would find me. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be the Courage Conversations or the Confidence Shortcut yet for the podcast. I'm still kind of in between on those 2 things, Peter. But you're a podcast expert, so I'm sure we'll be talking.
Yeah, just my advice: just keep talking about it in different forms, and you'll see what resonates with people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't worry about what you're going to call it. Just have the conversations.
Okay, and then do that after. You're right. It's like writing a short film. The title comes after.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's really good advice, actually.
I imagine there'll be really fascinating, insightful, deep conversations if you're talking to people about where they've had to be courageous, how they found their courage. Yeah, great. I can't wait to listen. So how can the listener and I help you the most right now, Niki?
I thought about this, and I would ask for thoughts and prayers that I could continue to be vulnerable as I step into that big deal energy, Peter. Yeah, I think just continuing to stay open to what's coming and open to new relationships, to a new community that I can serve in a bigger way, and just staying open to connection with universe and the people in it.
And self.
And self. Thank you. Definitely.
That's ultimately the most important connection, isn't it? Is what we've learned on this episode. It's like it was when you were disconnected from yourself that you had all the challenges. And I'm not saying that your life is challenge free now, but it's that connection with self. It's just so important.
You're so right. Thank you for that summary. I love that. Thank you.
Well, I'm just holding up a mirror. You said it, not me. The last question I ask all my guests is, whose non-straight line journey do you want to hear?
Whose do I want to hear? Oh, wow.
Give me an idea for a future guest that if you were to see it pop up on your podcast app, not a straight line, where I'm talking with who?
I think my friend Amor Owens is who popped into my head, and I'm not going to deny what pops into my head. Yeah, she's who I've kind of modeled my behavior after, but I don't know her deeper story. And I would love to hear that because she's a beautiful human being that, it would be a great, great interview, great story.
A great conversation.
Great conversation. Thank you.
On behalf of the listener and myself, Niki, thank you so much for the last hour and 31 minutes we've been talking. Can you believe it? So, it's great.
Thank you for having me. This was a beautiful, beautiful conversation, Peter. And I really, really enjoyed getting to know you better and sharing my story. So thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Not a Straight Line. If this conversation helped to reorient your internal compass or inspired you in any way, please let us know by heading to podcast.notastraightline.life/rate and leave a rating and review. Thanks, as always, to Matthew Bliss of MB Podcast Services for his exquisite engineering of this episode. If you'd like him to help you with your podcast, contact details are in the show notes. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or there's someone whose non-straight line journey you'd just love to hear, then please visit podcast.notastraightline.life/guest. Thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you next week for another amazing, deep, inspiring non-straight line journey. Love you.